And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lost Sheep Podcast. I am Nazario Pengallo here with,
Evan Aber.
and
Cole Bissett.
as you can see, we are in a little bit of a different setup here. And you can kind of see up here, if you're on visuals, we have a nice picture of JP2 up here on the wall. This is called the JP2 room as well. Nicknamed that. I'm not sure. Is that the actual title?
I think it is.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
a new location here on the Bama Catholic campus here at the University of Alabama, bringing you another wonderful episode. Folks, if you're wondering, if you're counting it down, you may be, you may not be. This is the second to last episode of us doing it here together at UA, with all of us being students here at UA, because one of us decided to go graduate. It's me, sorry. So get excited for that. We'll be doing another one next week. We're going to figure out a way to do it during finals week. We battle through, we push through. So with that, it's dead week. We're studying for finals. How are y'all doing?
I mean, normally he goes to the person right
I
next to
know.
him. But,
It's been a good week. I'm kind of bored, honestly. I haven't been doing much. A lot of my finals aren't really. We have a lot more projects rather than finals, so not a lot of cramming and things like that. So, good week. Caroline's parents were in town this weekend, so it was nice to see them. Going on our bachelorette trip at the end of the week, so I'm super excited for that. And then we also are going to see Flatland Cavalry on Thursday at Avondale Brewing. I've never been.
it's cool.
Okay, are the acoustics good?
Gosh, it's been a long time since I've been there, but if I do remember, they're pretty
Okay.
solid.
Last time we saw them, I had bought tickets. It was at the Alabama Theater or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like really close to the stone wall, and I think it threw off the acoustics. It wasn't the best. They sounded great, but the acoustics definitely was
I'm
an
pretty
experience.
sure I've been there, or maybe it was my parents. They loved it. I know my parents have been there. They
Okay.
loved it. They saw Nickel Creek. Do you know Nickel Creek?
No,
They're like a
Nickelback.
folk band, not Nickelback. Definitely not Nickelback, but yeah, no, it's a cool venue.
Okay.
For sure. But yeah, my week has been pretty good so far. Getting into the troubles of studying for exams. I had a funny moment yesterday with Nazario, actually, where I was sitting on the couch and I had been holding my pencil in my mouth, and I started studying, and I was just so locked in the podcast and locked into my notes that I dropped my pencil out of my mouth, and it's a magnetic, like, Apple Pencil.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost it. And I was like, what the heck is happening? So I look all around the couch, and I think Nazario actually has photos, and maybe he can edit it into this part right here.
No, if you're on visuals, you can see it right now. A nice, wonderful picture of Cole Bissett with.
You want to show Evan where that pencil was
pencil.
that I was
Funny.
looking for?
That's funny. How
So
long?
it was magnetically attached to my necklace for like a solid 2 minutes before I realized what happened.
So I was sitting there. I was on the phone on a normal phone call with Caitlin, and Cole asked me if he knows, or I was like, Cole, what are you looking for? Because I see it on his chest. I'm like, Cole, what are you looking for? 'Cause I'm like, he's got to be looking for something else. He's like, I'm looking for my pencil. And I'm like,
I was like, did you steal
I
it?
waited a little bit.
Yeah.
I FaceTime Caitlin to show her. And I'm like, Cole, which pencil are you looking for? And he's like, my Apple Pencil. I just show her. He's like, what? Dude, come on.
It was terrible. And I was like, wait. And I looked down, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But yeah, I thought he stole it. I thought Nazario stole it. We normally hide things from each other's for fun sometimes. So that was a nice little interesting mess up and fluke for my week. So if that doesn't show you how I am prepared going into exam week, then there you go. Very scatterbrained at the moment. But yeah, how about you, Mr. Pan Gallo over there on the corner?
Yeah, I have approximately 9 days left of doing school. My last exam is next Thursday, so that's in 9 days. And 2 days after that, I will be graduating. So 11 days on the countdown. But we've had some really, really fun weeks, especially weekends, the last couple of weekends, trying to do as much fun stuff as we can. This past weekend, very, very spontaneous. Cole and I on Friday, we look, and there's a Morgan Wallen concert happening on the next day. And we're like, these tickets are going to be ridiculous. And I look, and I see they have approached under $100. I'm like, Cole, under $100. What are we thinking? And Cole was a little bit more unwilling to go. He's a little more hesitant. That's the right word. And then the next day,
Risk averse.
what's up?
Risk averse.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the next day, they're dropped into $65. And I'm like, Cole, I cannot not do this. And so I had to convince Cole to go to a concert, which has never happened before in the history of existence. And so I convinced Cole to go to this concert. It was a blast of a time. We actually got drenched for about 20 minutes where we were soaked, which was before Ella Langley, who was right before the main event. What do you call that? Is that what?
She's the
is there a
opener.
title for that? Well, I mean, there was 3 openers.
No.
Yeah, she was just one of
She
the
was just
openers.
She's one of the
Yeah.
openers.
Are you a
or
Morgan?
something.
Are you like a Wallen
I'm
guy?
a pretty big Morgan Wallen fan, so
Okay.
I was like pretty excited to go to this, and so we had a pretty good time. And then yesterday, this is the more funny aspect for myself realizing this. Maybe not as fun for other reasons, but we're sitting in my room and I look and I see that there was an invitation for something on Saturday, and I realized that we had completely missed this important event, which happened to be Evan's wedding shower. That we completely missed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Cole, we completely forgot." Even though we had actually scheduled to make an appearance, but so we had to apologize.
Yeah, so this is our,
This
our
is our
public,
public
confession
apology.
Yeah.
to Evan.
We are
and,
sorry, Evan. We
yeah,
hope
we're
you got a
asking
blast. Yeah,
for your
actually, tell
forgiveness.
us about how that went.
Yeah,
now.
how was? Yeah,
It was
how
fun. I was gonna say it was like it was low key, which was the intended kind of purpose. But it was good to see like it's hard to hang out with like certain people who are just busier than others, right? And so like, and not only that, but like there are groups of people who you're like, man, I love hanging out with like this person and this person at the same time, but like I rarely get to, right? Because of some like we're busy or just like, we never come in contact. So it was like 15, 20 people, and it was like a good group of people who I was like, these people rarely get to like all interact together at the same time. So it was fun. And then we also cooked mass and meal on Sunday, which was the same thing. It was like a bunch of us old people. Y'all did not come to mass and meal. I'm disappointed in you,
Well,
but
if I would have known it was cooked by you, I would have been there.
yeah, but it
That's
was
true.
Did
like
not know those
it was a
details.
bunch of old people, and it was really fun and worthwhile. I will say though, it was funny because watching people go through the line, like the only people I knew were people I knew because I've been doing search, and I know for like some of the people like Caroline, who has been out for a year, most of the people she was like, these people don't know who I am. Like they have no idea who I am. So it was funny, because Mass and Meal does tend to, with a few exceptions, tend to be a younger crowd usually. So yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. Y'all missed a good time.
Yeah, we literally had planned, talked about it the day before, and we're like, oh, we're gonna go to this. We gotta remember that we're gonna go to this, and we literally just woke up the next morning. I don't know what happened, but like completely gone.
Although I will say, so Jared, y'all know Jared Russell?
Heard the name.
I've heard the name recently, actually, for a sports take
Yeah.
from Thomas Case.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Jared claimed that Michael Jordan played against better competition than LeBron.
Which is a
Oh,
completely
interesting.
separate debate.
Okay. Anyway, okay. So Jared he went to the concert as well, and he was telling us how he was an Ella fella.
Oh,
Mm,
goodness.
So
I
my
didn't know
next
that was,
question-
the
Goodness.
title.
Yeah,
To
but
you
that's-
was,
that's
are
the
you
thing.
also an Ella fella now? Are you an Ella fella
I'm
now?
definitely more of an Ella
feel
fella
like
than I
you
was
are.
before
I feel
Saturday.
like you are definitely.
He's more of a fan than I am. She's grown on me. She's grown on me. I wouldn't say I'm an LFL yet. He's
Mm.
definly getting to that point now. He's
He was-
listened to a
I
lot
just
of
had
her
to laugh
recently.
at him, dude. I was like, whatever.
Ella fella.
The quote.
Yeah.
I mean, there is one song, Evan, that you would have been there. That everyone was singing, and it's just like it's
Choosing
so,
Texas.
No, actually,
Oh, I'm
it
shocked.
Be Her. It is like so easy to just sing along with, and I don't know. Everyone was singing it,
Yeah.
and now it just gets stuck in your head.
There's
beyond
like
belief.
3 on the radio. Like there's like 3 of her songs that like if I put on like a country mix, they're always in, and like yeah.
Do you enjoy them?
Yeah, I mean I do. I don't know. Yeah. This is a
Cool.
this is
Yeah,
a,
this
this
is
is
a
a
long
completely
intro
different
at the
topic,
moment.
but
That's
yeah.
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. But yeah, let's get into our quote.
Ladies and gentlemen, the quote of the week.
So last week, folks, if you didn't realize, Cole and I, well, all 3 of us, didn't film a podcast, but Cole and I were supposed to.
Which I don't know if
Film one.
Evan, did you even know that we didn't film anything?
I did know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Because there was not an episode released.
yes, there was no episode released last week because Cole and I completely forgot. We were very forgetful last week, if you couldn't tell. But I had sent this as Cole and I's idea for what we are going to do the podcast on, and now we are transitioning it to this one. So without further ado, our quote for the week is simply, it's from a song in this movie, but we've cut it down, and this is what it is. Never enough for me. If you don't know what this is from, we're not going to sing it because we don't want to get copyrighted.
Well, actually,
However-
if you do remember in the Tragedy and the Schmooze episode, I did sing this.
We did sing
and
this.
So
I
this
don't
is a
if-
throwback for those OG listeners.
Yeah, I don't know if it got, I don't think it got
It didn't get-
copyrighted then.
It did
but
not get copyrighted.
yeah,
it was
this is,
unintelligible apparently.
Apparently, not good enough to be recognized
Fair
by
enough.
AI.
But this is from the movie The Greatest Showman. And funny enough, this is one of Cole's, if not his favorite movie of all time. And it's definitely up there.
It's top 10.
But he was not the one to bring this. This was actually me driving randomly, and I was like, okay, this just popped into my head. This sounds fun to talk about. And we needed an idea. So here it is. And with that, I'm not going to say the first word. I'm going to hand it over to Evan for his initial thoughts.
Who also
know. I
said
don't
at the
know.
beginning of this episode that he had nothing to
I don't
say
know
at the
why
moment.
he would hand it over to me for the first talk.
It's always the funnest part to see who
because he did it to
transitions
me
the
last
first
time.
person.
I had
Yeah.
nothing. Evan
I know.
passed it over.
So I texted in the group chat and I was like, gut feeling is automatically like I disagree with this. 'Cause I think that especially now in our lives, like at this stage of our lives, like being young adults, and especially young men, like it's so easy to tell ourselves that like we need more, like this where we're at is not enough, like what we're doing is not enough, whatever. And in any topic, our professional lives, our personal lives, our relationships, our even our spiritual lives, like we're always tempted to say like what we're doing now is just not enough for what we want or where we need to be. And so gut reaction is, the 4-word phrase that we've come to look at here is a big point of disagreement for me. Never enough for me. Oh man, those finals are gonna go well. Oh, cool. So anyway, my first thought is gonna be I disagree. There is enough. It happens to be enough, and there's a certain point at which whatever it is you're chasing, whether it's in your personal life, in your spiritual life, in your professional life, it has to be enough, right? You have to be at some point satiated. We can go into a little bit deeper on that on the spiritual life, I think, but my gut reaction on dealing with the worldly things and looking at this quote and saying, oh, that's never enough for me, is that is a lie told by the devil. Those are my first thoughts. Without further ado, I'll throw it back to Nazario for his first thoughts.
I like
Ooh,
that.
got
I
the
had a
fake out.
feeling. I had a feeling you were gonna go back to me here. And so, funny enough, when looking at this quote, I think Evan said earlier, like, "Are we talking about the whole song, or are we talking about just this quote?" And when I had it pop into my head, this song, this was the only part of the song that I was remembered. So I didn't know the full quote. So actually, the full song is about in the movie this character singing about how not having this person in their life, if they don't have this person in their life, then no matter what they get, no matter what they do, it will never be enough for them. And so I was like, Evan, I had zero intentions of talking about like romantic relationship in any way with this because I had no idea this is what the quote was about. And so for me, it was about, okay, how can we take this and turn this into a conversation about ambition, about contentment, about satisfaction, spiritually, materially, professionally, like all those different ways. And so Cole and Evan, you guys, like, if you want to go into, what it is like, it's like having it with a romantic relationship, or even as like if you don't have God, then nothing will ever be enough for you. So if y'all want to go that way, you totally can. But my initial thoughts were about like ambition and material, about nothing in the world would ever be enough for this person. And however, like as you talked about, Evan, like you can disagree on that part too, like that things in the world could be enough.
Well, but I was going to say, you're almost like, it's almost a different ideology when we think about it, because from your perspective of like, things of the world are never going to fill that hole for, what we're looking for, right? Which, is Christ. Whereas the way I'm looking at it, it will like there will never be enough stuff to fill that hole, right?
Mhm.
Like, so it's like the same, the different sides of the same coin almost, of like, you can agree with the quote and I can disagree with the quote, and we're both saying the same thing, and we both could be right or wrong, right?
For
So
sure.
anyway, back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, no. We'll let Cole, because Cole could go very long, so I'm not sure like when will be the proper time to throw it to him. But I think with what you're saying, Evan, well, with where we agree at is that God, Christ, bless you. Your relationship, bless you. Your relationship
Excuse me.
with God is the only thing that could ever fill that hole. However, I still think there's very much a conversation and a preparation that you have to make in your life and a way to live where the things in the world that you do interact with and that you do pursue become enough. Because you could have God at the center of your life and have a good relationship with him, but you could still feel the way that the quote is describing in the world and in your life on earth. And I think that's very important to distinguish and to, talk about and understand how do we handle that.
Yeah, I mean, going just first little, I guess just what is the word? What I'm blanking on the word. Ideas,
even know
thoughts.
which- I don't even-
I think
Hold
this
on, Cole.
quote's
The mic just unplugged for a few minutes. For a few seconds. Sorry. Go back to your first thoughts.
first thoughts. I think simply enough, if we're referring to the quote, never enough for me, simply refers to I said that desire is God's way of communicating with us. And I think the fact that we even feel this way to begin with is because of that desire. It's that longing for the void to fill that hole, which y'all are talking about. And I greatly agree with that. For a little bit of context, and I think this is kind of important for this particular situation. So this movie, The Greatest Showman, follows the life of P.T. Barnum, who is a broke man, and he finds this old wax museum and turns it into a circus. And he finds all of these different unique type of people with disorders, maybe a minority at the time, and they just are more of rejects of their society in the time period that they were in. And he turns them into stars. And the world slowly begins to accept this. But for this song in particular, he gets so caught up in his fame and his success. He grows from nothing into something huge. And the character at the time named Jenny Lynn, who is the character who sings this in the movie, is a world-renowned opera singer. And she is on the up and up, extremely huge, and he decides to tour with her around the world. And he tours with her for so long and is wanting success so bad that he gets distracted from his wife and starts falling for Jenny Lynn. And then Jenny Lynn starts falling for him. And so when she sang this song, Never Enough, she started crying on stage because she's singing it about him. And then he is standing there realizing that, knowing it's about her. He walks onto the stage. She kisses him on the newspaper. He cheats on his wife. It's a huge thing. And I'm saying all this because we're talking about the materialistic things of the world, what comes with the world, the temptations that come with the world, with money, greed, wealth, just lust, whatever that is. There's all sorts of temptations. And I want to highlight this first. This is from Pope St. Pius X. He will be careful not to make them...
Hold up. You're not speaking into your mic.
Sorry, my bad. I do that all the time when I'm looking down. He will be careful not to make them the end and quasi-beatitudes of this life. He will use them rightly and temperately when he subordinates them to the salvation of souls. And he's referring to materialistic things. Like, it's okay to pursue success. I want to make that clear. Like, pursuing success in your career, in your occupation, is still a good thing. Now, you have to be able to have the fine line between pursuing it to the point where it's idolized and then pursuing it to the point where it can become something that's beneficial to your life. And I think that's a lot of where I am floating at with this quote. And so I actually have a question for the two of y'all to begin with, because I'm pretty excited about this because I'm curious as to what y'all have to say.
Wait, hold on. A, can you read that quote for us again?
Yeah.
And then B,
Quasi-beatitude, if that's what you're asking.
a
I would
lot-
love to know what that means too.
yeah, a lot of preface. But what is like your thought on the quote? Like, what is your Like, what's your thing? Like, what's like your driving? Like, what do you want to pick at from this quote?
I just want to talk about success at the moment, which is what I'm like. That's what I'm trying to get into that specific point, because I think this quote can be taken in two different directions. I agree with it, like Nazario. I disagree with it, like you. I get both sides of this coin. There's not anything particular I'm pulling at. I'm just trying to, I guess, grasp the good and the bad from this at the moment, because I think it can definitely be leaned in different directions. And so
Do you want to know what quasi beatitude means?
yeah, I would love to. I'm
Okay.
very
I'd love
curious.
to as
Well, this is from the Google AI overview,
Oh, there we go.
which comes from dictionary.com is what it's saying its sources are, and it says that it refers to a state of partial or seeming blessedness,
Mm.
which has characteristics of true divine happiness, but is not fully or properly realized, often describing a temporal or imperfect version of supreme happiness.
Mm. Yeah,
So partial experience of divine bliss in the present life.
and so Pope Pius says, leading
Yeah,
into
say that
this,
quote again.
yeah,
Say
he
that quote
says he
again.
will be careful not to make them the end and quasi-beatitude of this life, which I think it's very important to not make it the end, material things, because if you make that the end, and there is, your purpose is just not there. There's nothing anymore. If you've reached your goal and that's your end in your life, then what have you accomplished? Nothing, because we truly believe in our Savior, and if we truly believe in him, then all these materialistic things should mean nothing at the end of the day. They are a means to get to the end sometimes in particular situations, but not always. They are never, ever the end. Now my question for you guys in particular, because we're talking
sir.
about success,
Mhm.
is do you think people get more addicted to the chase of success or the actual success itself? Because I'm trying to find
Mm.
what I'm trying to grasp at here is a little more of what is the healthy line in
Yeah.
a career and your occupation of pursuing success?
I
How do you
think-
make it not overwhelm you?
I think this is the great question of the world, Cole.
Yeah.
And it's where everyone has to find their own balance, because with the chase, you have to have the motivation to continue, and you have to fall in love with the chase, or you'll never reach success, and your day-to-day life will not be very enjoyable, because you will just be like, I hate work. I hate doing the day-to-day. Yes, I want something great, but I don't want to do the day-to-day. And then also you have to be able to appreciate when you have that satisfaction, once you reach your goal. But also, like, part of realizing and appreciating your goal is realizing the journey, right? So I think of two examples that come right off the bat here. One is Michigan just won the college basketball national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's interviews with Dusty May, their head coach. And so for the players, they were great. They had their time. They enjoyed it, everything like that. For Dusty May, the game started at, I believe, 9 Eastern time. So it ended at 11:30. Originally, the transfer portal opened at midnight that night. They had a Zoom call scheduled with a player at 2 a.m. A player that was going to enter the transfer portal and was thinking about going to Michigan at 2 a.m. He just won the national championship. The season starts in October. They ended the year, I think it was maybe April 9th. So that's 7 months where they have had this entire journey, and they reached the absolute mountaintop. And he had planned within 2 hours to move on to the chase already. And so he talked about how much the chase is his thing. And you can see with the way his lifestyle was leading, the chase was what it was all about, not the actual, not the mountaintop.
Mm.
And then we transition, or we look at a different example, and that's Rory McIlroy. And he just completed winning back-to-back Masters, which has only been done, I believe, 4 times. And he talked about his experience. It was this incredible journey of failure, of coming up short, of winning the Masters for years and years and years. And last year, he finally broke through, and he finally won it. And so he talked about how incredible it was finally reaching that, and he celebrated it, and he enjoyed it. And then coming into this year is like, that was great. I enjoyed it, and I appreciated being on the mountaintop. But now I get to go through the journey again. And he looked back on the journey of what led to him to that point as something incredible, and not just reaching the mountaintop. So 2 incredible examples, but 2 complete different examples. And so when we're looking at it, there is a balance. And as with everything, moderation and everything. So even if you do reach the mountaintop in your aspirations for your goals, there's still only a certain amount of time you should spend celebrating that. The only thing that you will ever eternally, or well, for a long time celebrate, is the eternal life, is heaven, is God. That's the only thing that you will forever celebrate. Other things, there will always be temporary celebration, and that is okay. That is a good thing. But also the same thing with the chase. There's temporary chasing, not eternally chasing.
Mm.
So a balance is how I would answer.
So it's kind of, you're saying it can be a little personality based as well, just based off the person. Like some people
Yes, it
do
100%
accept.
can.
Okay.
But also, like, with those examples, neither of those are perfect examples. They're just real world
Yeah.
examples. Like, I would say, looking at Dusty May, the Michigan head coach, that is not the way to do it. Like, obviously, you want to be prepared for the next season, but if you're preparing for something that you're never going to even celebrate the fruits of, then what's the point of even preparing for it? Like, if you spent the entire year, the year before, getting all the transfers to come in, which he brought in great transfers that led them to win the national title, but you never actually celebrate that, then going to pursue it again, like, you're never enjoying what you're doing. So for his example, is more of a negative example. Like, you have to take the time to enjoy, to celebrate, or what's the point of doing it? Like, you're too obsessed, and it's an excessive chasing.
Yeah.
For that example.
Before I go into kind of what I'm thinking here, I want to say, and this is going to seem kind of homerish, but I think Nick Saban is a great example of a guy who loves, like, doing the, like, I'm not going to call it the chase, because we're talking about sports. Loves doing the grind. Like, love doing the grind. Nick Saban has said multiple times that he retired because of the transfer portal and because of, like, what the climate of college football looks like today, which is great. Because Nick Saban is a guy who loved developing players, loved coaching, and loved playing the game, right? Like, and those were the things that were important to him. Like, winning is part of playing the game, right? If you don't want to win, there's no reason to play the game, right?
I believe he said that.
Yeah, I'm quoting
Sure he
him.
said that.
I'm quoting him. I'm pretty 90% sure that's how what he said goes. But, like, that's a guy who loves the sport. But at the same time, when it came time where he said, okay, I'm not actually having fun doing this anymore, right? Like, I'm good. Like, you know, I can go and rest. And, like, yes, of course he does things right now, and he's a
He was
pundit.
literally at the Morgan Wallen concert on Saturday, guys.
He was.
And he's on talk shows and things like this. And I'm sure he travels, and I'm sure he's got a great retirement and whatnot, right? Whatever. But I will say that if you're a person, you can't be in love with both things, right?
For sure.
You can't be in love with the chase and in love with the end goal. And I think that the people who are doing something because of the end goal are happier than the ones who are doing it because of the chase. And I'll tell you why.
Interesting.
I'll tell you why I believe this. Those people are always ready to say this is enough for me, right? And this is going back to our
I
quote.
can disagree with you on that, but
Well,
you can continue.
hold on. The people who Rory, let's say Rory, right? And I'm not saying his end goal has to be tiny. If his end goal was winning the Masters, then Rory would have been content with, I've won the Masters, I'm hanging him up, right? I now, assuming he's made enough money, right, for his kids and stuff like that, which, yes, he probably has, right? He's probably a millionaire multi-times over. But, you know, what if his goal, and he said something about this, right? But, like, what if his goal is to be, like, the best golf player of all time, right? That person where, like, people are like, oh, you know, who do you think the best player of all time is? And they're like, we don't really need to talk about that. Who do you think the second best player of all time is, right? Because first best player of all time is a stupid conversation to have. It's Rory, right? Like, it depends on your goal. And so the reason I say those people are happier is if you achieve that goal, that's all. Like, that's what you've been chasing. That's been your chase. Whereas if you're in love with the chase, it becomes never enough. If I like just attaining money, why am I ever going to be happy? I still haven't attained more money.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care if I make $1 million a year. I don't care if I make $2 million a year. I don't care if I make $1 billion a year. If I'm not happy because I'm not making the most money on earth at that moment, every single second for all time, I'm never going to be happy, right? And that's where the chase becomes such this, like, addictive drug, sort of. When we look into it, right? We talk about the rat race, and I'm seeing it really. I see all these guys on Instagram and TikTok and all these people talking about, like, the hustle culture people and, like, people starting marketing businesses and all these like whatever. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just a rat race, right? It's really like, oh, like I need more money. I want more money. So like, what do? Oh, I'll do anything, right? Well, what's your end goal? Like, is your end goal to retire and to like have a family and be content? Because I know if someone came to me and was like, hey, you have to work for the next 20 years doing like some job that you hate. But at the end of those 20 years, we will give you enough money that you never have to worry about your kids' college tuition, your health care, your happiness. Like, you can travel wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. Like, I would take that in a heartbeat, right? And now, would I probably go out and do something worthwhile afterwards because I'd be a little bit bored? Sure, right? But am I doing that thing because I'm in love with the chase? Absolutely not. I'm doing that thing because I have goals that are other than just myself, other than, hey, I want to do this so I get another adrenaline kick, right? And so that's why I say you can't be in love with both, and I'm understanding this is long-winded. That's why I'm saying you can't be in love with both is if you're in love with the chase, you can never set a goal to where that chase is fulfilled. And if you're in love with the goal, then you can never under or over chase that goal, right? That goal is determined by how hard you work for it. If I achieve that goal, I've done it. If I don't, it's because I didn't do life or work hard enough for that goal. And that's, at the end of the day, disappointment or happiness, worldly sense, at least there.
Yeah, so with your part about the chase, like I agree with you with what you're saying. The only difference that I see where I think we can come to a common agreement here is that you can't love either of them ever at all. And where I'm saying like the balance of it is that you can't fall in love with the chase in an obsessive, excessive way because of the reasons that you listed, but you also can't do that same thing for the goals because you realize
Maybe not can't, but shouldn't allow.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, because like we definitely know people who have been in love with both.
Yeah.
Right. Like yeah,
Yeah.
but I think shouldn't. Yes.
Yes, and
Sorry.
shouldn't because the goal, once you get there, of course, it's going to be good because, I mean, likely it's a good goal. But you realize that winning that or getting that or doing that, whatever goal it is, does not bring you all the things that you had built it up to do or to give you in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that I think we can add to what you said is that the goal will not make you feel as complete as you think it would. So, which is where I wanted to direct the conversation, is that it's not about achieving the goal or achieving the chase, and it's about how to be content with wherever you're at and whatever you do. So, whatever your chase is, when you get done with work, being content that you don't have to be like the guys you're talking about. Where you're working like, I got to work 14, 16 hours a day. I got to hustle my butt off all the time, right?
Yeah.
Not being like that, but also not being like, I have to achieve this goal. That's what's going to do it right there.
Yeah.
It's the balance of when I get done with work, I can just go home and spend time with my family. And I don't need to worry about work. I don't have to even think about it. And it's like I go win a championship or I just finished this project at work. I'm happy with how that went. I enjoy that it's over and then I did it and I look back on it fondly. But there it is. Like it's a balance of both things, not falling in love with both things and putting either of them on a pedestal. Either of them on a pedestal becomes idolatry, whichever way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that balance for both. And it starts with contentment right now with both of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just add a little bit more because I think Evan brought up a really, really good point. I think, obviously, I know with this episode, we're leaning more towards like the worldly sense of things with, as JP2 would say, what you do with your body, it very much greatly affects your soul. So that definitely does matter in this sense. And so we really are, while we're talking about worldly things, it does still relate to our spirituality in a huge sense. And I'm glad that you brought up contentment because I was just about to ask, and I think you answered it already, but like, what's the fine line for contentment in this case while still being able to pursue success? And you did basically just answer that. But if you have like more to add on to that, and on top of that, I know we're talking about success in the worldly sense. I don't think you can actually use the word contentment outside of only. I think you can only use the word contentment in the worldly sense and not in the spiritual sense. I think contentment becomes wrong when you apply it to your spirituality. Because I don't think you can actually ever be content with your spirituality or in a place where you are like content.
The question I was going to ask is, because I was actually going to ask this myself, and again, this I understand this is going to sound a little hypocritical after just disowning hustle culture, but do y'all like the word content?
I don't.
I do.
You do.
100%.
You don't. All right. So I hate to usurp your question, but let's start there. All right. So you tell me, why don't you like the word content?
I think because a lot of the time it gets misused in the sense of when I hear the word content and I see the way it gets applied in a lot of things, I see it applied to spiritual, which is kind of what I was getting at with spirituality. And it's like, oh, I'm at a place where I'm good with God right now, and this is where I'm sitting. I'm not going to pursue anything else. And I'll see it a lot of the times where people are like, okay, I'm at a good place with God. I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it becomes wrong, and it's misused, it's misplaced, because I don't think you can use contentment in relation to spirituality. I think it's a contradictory statement, because we should always be pursuing excellence. We talk about it a lot and focus. And so I would say with material things, I like contentment in the sense of like you should be at a point where you are content with your belongings. And I think if you are at a point where you can't be content with what you have, with what you do, then it does become idolatry, because you're always pushing for something that could be better, when in reality you could be enjoying what you presently have in the moment. And so maybe contentment isn't even the best word for that.
Do you like contentment? Clearly not from a spiritual directive place, but what about contentment even from a worldly?
In what sense?
Professionally? Is that what you're talking about, Evan?
Yeah, just
Like career-wise, possession-wise.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that, because I don't even know if contentment is the right word. I think being present is a better word.
I think those are completely different things.
Well, yes and no, because I would say with being present, it also is like you can not be content, but you can also enjoy where you're at, and live in that moment still, and still be pursuing more. But I think people get so caught up in the chase that they forget to be present. And it's not necessarily contentment, it's just being where you're at, enjoying what you actually have, and not getting distracted by what you want still. Again, going back to that same line of like making things idols. I just don't know if I don't know. I still don't know if contentment is the contentment may not even be the right word for anything. Like I think it's just overly used, maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Nazario?
I'm more confused than I was at the beginning, so let's toss it over to you.
I'm confused.
When listening to Cole, there's either a certain connotation that he has with this, a clarification with definition that he needs. I think I don't know if I'm gonna provide it.
I'm very curious.
I'm
or if there's a
kind of
different
I'm
word.
kind of agreeing with you a little bit. Yeah.
Because I disagree with you on contentment in the spiritual life 100% is possible, and there's 100% an okay thing. And
Really?
contentment in your normal life also a very good thing, because I think about this example that came to mind that I was going to mention earlier. And so one of our great leaders here at UA, who has been, I think, an inspiration to all of us, JP Salahub, he is currently in law school, and his
It's who's gonna pull out?
I was very
I mean,
curious too.
it's
I'm not gonna
pretty
lie.
good, right?
Yeah. I was
So-
expecting Nick Saban again
Yeah.
or something.
No. Here, Bama Catholic, actually. So, our freshman fall, Cole and my freshman year, when we
Mhm.
went to search, JP did a talk. And he talked about speaking with a priest / spiritual director. I don't remember exactly if there was a difference or if it was both, but about how he would spend an hour and a half to 2.5 hours in deep prayer every single day. And this priest told him, bro, you are a student, you are a 20-year-old, you have to understand that is not, I'm not sure if right is the right word there, but that's not exactly what you're called to
Conducive.
right now.
Yeah.
And that JP had to learn what his prayer life, what he was being called to within his vocation, within the life that he was planning to live a life that's not as like a religious life person that is like praying all the time. And so that's the first thing that I go to.
I will say, if that's your reasoning for being 100% content,
No, that was just an example.
like being content spiritually.
No, this is just my starting example
Okay,
of
continue
someone
onward.
that prayed a ton, and a priest told him, "You do not need to be spending that much time."
Shout
in
out JP
contemplative
Salah,
prayer."
we're using you on the podcast.
Continue. 'Cause
So-
I do have a point here, but keep going onward.
And so with that, when you're saying pursuing excellence, pursuing excellence and being content are not mutually exclusive things, both in the normal life and in the spiritual life. They are not different things. But if you're never content in your spiritual life, you are very much bordering on perfectionism, not excellence, which are different things, and things that, one, we are trying to pursue in excellence, and perfectionism, which we're not trying to pursue in, we're not trying to pursue perfectionism. And so if you're not content, then you're going to pursue perfectionism, which is not possible here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great book by Christopher West talking about perfectionism. If you want to go read it, I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but he talks a lot about how he was a perfectionist. And if you go talk to perfectionists, they're never content. They always think that they have to be better. And if you think about Christ and what he did on earth, his goals were to give us eternal life
Mm-hmm.
and to help us be, in a way, not like I'm not sure he literally preached this, but one of his things is like to help us be content on earth. We go to confession. We are freed from our sins. Like if you had any mortal sins, like you're in a state of grace now. You should be content where you're at. You know that you're going to heaven. You know there is nothing else you need to do that you have to do. You're fine. You can go pray if you want to. You can go watch a sports game. You can go to work if you want to. Your spiritual life, you should be content right there. There is nothing you have to do. However, like obviously we have a life to live, and then we want to pursue excellence. But in that moment, you shouldn't be feeling, oh my gosh, I had this anxiety. I need to be going to do more, or like feeling I have to do more. No, you should be content in that moment. And Cole, if we need to clarify what the word content means here, then we should do that. But in terms of that, I don't think I'm going to get off that point.
I like that.
See,
I do like that.
I still disagree, because I think with contentment, the definition of the word is to be satisfied with what one has. And the reason I say I still disagree is because I think to be satisfied means that you are... We talk about how on earth it's not possible to be fully satisfied. We talk about it all the time because the ultimate satisfaction is in heaven. And if that's a true case, then when you're pursuing excellence, if to be satisfied means that desire would be gone, right? The desire to continue to push forward. And so when you're thinking of content in the sense of like more, like with what you're going is like, oh, we need to do more and more and more. It's less of like when I'm saying, how do I say this? What I'm saying is that it's not always more. It's just, how can I do this better? Right? How can
That
I,
is more.
in these 10 minutes of prayer time, how can I do this better? It's not more hours of prayer time, right? For JP's example, an hour and a half. Yes, that's probably not a great thing for the life he's living currently, rather shrink it down. But in these 30 minutes, how can I live that to the fullest of potential? How in that prayer time can I pray better? How can I use that in my day-to-day life going forward, and how I act around people? And I would say to be content would mean that you are satisfied with what you're doing. And I think if you're satisfied, then where is the striving? Like how are you actually moving forward still if you're satisfied with where you're at? And that is why when C.S. Lewis says in the Screwtape Letters, to be content with your faith is no better than having no faith at all, which I still like that a lot, because I think to be content would be to remove the pursuit of excellence, because I think to be satisfied kind of removes the whole aspect of like our heavenly aspiration.
I just think that's a bad path to go down. Honestly, I just think you're just going to go down a path of perfectionism there, and that's just not what we're called to do, honestly.
But I think I think contentment actually, if you're satisfied, then I think that is perfection in a sense. There's nothing else to be worked on. If you're
Contentment
satisfied,
does-
then,
I don't
Contentment
know.
does not mean that you do not have anything to work
Yeah.
on. It just means that
but why stop?
it's
'Cause,
not meaning
well-
you're stopping if you're content. You're just taking a period of saying, I can rest for a period
think
of time.
I can be satisfied and still know I have things to work on, right? Like,
But then, is that really satisfaction?
yeah, like for example, like your
Are
classes.
you never satisfied, Cole?
Not satisfied. I'm proud of myself for certain things.
I
Sure.
would call that satisfaction. I would. So, like, for example, when I pass a class, let's up that a little bit. When I get an A on a course, right? Like, I'm satisfied with that, right? Like, that's satisfaction. Now, does that mean I just like, cool, I'm done? Like, no. I know there's other stuff to go on, but just simply because I haven't reached the main goal in life or that like thing doesn't mean I can't be satisfied with what I'm doing in that moment, right? Like, because again, like with prayer life, we do have like consolation and desolation in our lives is okay to like draw strength from, right? And what I'm referring to is basically like we can go through periods in our life where like going to mass or praying or visiting the sacraments is like really easy and fun and we want to do it, and that's called areas of consolation. And we can also have areas where it's the opposite, where it's not easy to go to mass, we're struggling to pray. Visiting the sacraments is like the last thing we want to do, and those may be called areas of desolation or times of desolation. But like I can very much feel satisfied in my periods of consolation knowing that like I'm, like this is easy for me, as much as I can feel satisfied in the times of desolation when I'm still going to these things, even though it's not easy and I don't want to be here, right? Because I think if you can never be satisfied, then by default, you always have to be disappointed with what you're doing. And I think that being a pessimist about how you're living your faith is not a good recipe for like as Nazario says, like maybe not perfectionism, but a good thing for success. Because if I'm always talking myself down, I can put myself into this hole where like it may be like a time of desolation coupled with like, man, I stink, like I don't deserve this at all, like I don't know why I'm doing anything, like my prayer life sucks, and I just like, what's it all for, right? Like what's the point? Whereas like if I have a little bit of satisfaction knowing that like, hey, I do a good job with my daily prayer life, I do a good job with like visiting mass or doing this or doing that, like that can go a long way to keeping those habits rolling and carrying me into another place. And as I mentioned, going into another place, we're going to transition from
you are. I
our
was gonna
quote.
add on to your point.
We can come back to final thoughts.
Let me add one
Okay,
final thing.
okay,
to
yeah,
this.
yeah.
To draw
Man,
back to the quote, like
ruin my transition.
that was a pretty good transition. Just one final thing, like going back to our quote, never enough for me. If we're living in this place where we never can be content, I think it's like, well, nothing is ever enough. And why? Well, when Jesus came down from heaven and when he instituted the sacraments, his goal was to bring a part of heaven in a way down to earth. That was our way of experiencing heaven while we're on earth. Correct? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So in a way, if heaven is the ultimate satisfaction, like clearly ultimate, right?
Yeah.
But we still have our earthly satisfactions. Would this not be a way to experience satisfaction here on earth? By experience the sacraments, by experiencing heaven on earth. And so with that, we should be able to say, at this point in time, I understand this is enough for me right now. Because if not, then why wouldn't we all just like want to go die like right away, like right now, so that we can achieve the thing that will finally be enough.
Yeah.
So that's why we go back to being able to be okay with where you're at right now and understanding it is enough for me right now.
Yeah.
So, and with that, we'll move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, the practical prayer practice of the week.
So, folks, we went a lot of different directions with our quote today. But we're gonna go back to the material aspect of this quote, of this discussion for our practical prayer practice of the week. We talked about not being, too attached to the material, being able to be content with what is enough in our material lives. And so with that, our practical prayer practice of the week is to give away something material this week, something in your life. You're going to give it away. Whatever that may be, I'm not sure what it is. Could be whatever you feel called to materially to give away. Y'all have any thoughts? Think you can do this week? I'll ask you next week. What do you think?
I got nothing.
I think we should also note that it like it can't be like something useless or again, maybe not can't, but it shouldn't be something like useless or like I have like a pair of busted up shoes that I was going to throw away, but I'm going to donate them instead. Like no, like the point of sacrifice is that it hurts a little bit. We've definitely talked about this on the podcast a little bit before, but like it should hurt a little bit, like giving up a material thing that like you like or you enjoy or you have
Are we
to
considering money in this one or no?
I
I would say no.
I mean, no, like I wouldn't just give money, right?
Yeah.
That seems like a cop out, but like if it is something that like you did spend a little bit of money on, right? Like that hurts you a little bit. Yeah, like that's a good thing to give away.
Cole, any thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
With that, we are going to move on to an example.
Ladies and gentlemen, the shepherd of the week.
So, Cole, you have brought our shepherd of the week for this week. Take it away.
Yeah, so the coolest part about The Greatest Showman in particular, and I think this is what was talked about probably when reference to the movie, this is what gets brought up probably the most because it's one of the biggest illusions on the screen as far as like songs go. And by illusion, I mean if you've watched the movie The Greatest Showman and don't know this, well, I'm about to educate you a little bit on a fun fact. The song Never Enough actually was not sang by the actor who played Jenny Lind, Rebecca Ferguson. She is a famous singer. She's incredible. Her voice is ridiculous. But they hired a vocalist. Her name is Lauren Allred, and she originally was supposed to go on there and demo the song. She was going to do a bass recording. Most artists do this when they perform their music, is they hire somebody to come in and demo their song, specifically to highlight different changes in the melody, different emotions that are supposed to be portrayed. That way they have a good bass line to go off of when they actually sing it. And Lauren Allred did this for the show, and they gave it to Rebecca Ferguson to take a look at. And Rebecca took a look at it and was like, this is not my piece. Lauren, this is Lauren's song. Her emotion in it is incredible. Her melody in it is incredible in it, and this should be her voice. And so for the longest time, Lauren Allred was the vocalist for this song, and wasn't vocal about it like at all. She didn't talk about it in interviews. She didn't perform it ever. As Evan mentioned beforehand, she is in the credit list for the cast. So she was on there, but most people don't really look at, because she isn't. If you went to the Greatest Showman site on Spotify and Never Enough came up, it was originally just the Greatest Showman. Now it has Lauren because she's announced it, but it was just the Greatest Showman, so it wasn't even like, oh, she didn't even sing it. But she performed it for the first time on Britain's Got Talent in 2022. And the reason she did it is because she didn't want the spotlight of the song. Which is really neat because the whole song is about, not getting trapped in the spotlight. And I think she lived that up to the fullest of her potential. And at one point she's like, okay, I think this song should like have a face to it for people to actually relate to and feel this with. And she relates to this song a lot. And it was really incredible. I remember it being so moving for everybody when she first premiered it on Britain's Got Talent with her voice. It literally brought people to tears. So I think what's cool about her story is just the fact that she practiced a lot of humility in it. It would be so easy to be in those shoes and be like, I mean, I know in those shoes for me, I would be like, oh, I want to be recognized for this, like I want to like get the fame. And she didn't. She sat behind it for a long time. And I think that was really respectable. And I think she's a good model in that particular instance for like the younger generation growing up and like finding that fine line and actually living by what the song means. So Lauren Allred is our shepherd of the week. Do y'all have anything on that?
Yeah, and before the transition, like through the transition, I said example because that's just like what popped in my head in terms of like transitioning it. And I wasn't sure. We kind of laughed here on set of like, is this really an example of our quote? And in a way, we can learn a lesson from her for sure. In that we realize and recognize that the praise of the world, the recognition, and the things that come along with that. Had she originally said this was her song, and of course she did do it later, but those things we realize will never be enough. Of course, as we were going to keep saying that, and so whether she actually chose it for this reason or not, it's a good lesson to learn that if you do something great or if you do something bad or good, anything in between, the worldly praise of it or the worldly hatred of it, either way, it is going to happen, but it shouldn't affect you in an excessive way, in either way. Like, you recognize it could be something good, you accept the love, or something bad, you recognize, like, okay, maybe this wasn't great, but it's never going to be enough in either way. And so that's another lesson to reiterate our point. Evan, anything?
No.
Okay, so with that, we are going to move on to our final thoughts. Do y'all have any final thoughts?
You guys?
You go first because you went last on the. We'll go reverse
There you go.
order. You went
Yeah.
last on the.
I think with this quote, at the end of the day, it kind of it's your interpretation of what contentment means to you. And I guess for me in particular, the reason I like my side of just my way of interpreting this quote is there is a danger to having, you have this weekly prayer routine and you're content with this weekly prayer routine and you practice the same thing every week throughout your whole life. And you get into the danger where that your complacency in this constant line of doing the same thing without anything changing it opens you up to being vulnerable a lot because you've become satisfied with what you're doing. And that's kind of where the devil begins to pry in there, because like if you're just doing the same things every day, how are you growing in your faith in any way if you're just doing the same thing over and over again? Yes, we go to mass every Sunday, but we're faced with a different reading, and we should come in open to understanding what that means. And so contentment may not necessarily imply an ultimate end, which is where I agree with you guys in the sense of like it's okay to relish a little bit of the success of your prayer life, and it's okay to relish it. Yeah, I'm in a good state right now. But it's like, okay, how can I be better in this moment? Like when we were playing disc golf the other day, I told Nazario, I was like, I have not birdied in like 3 games. And Nazario was like, okay, for the next one, I want you to like really be focused on, okay, like if you make this putt, great. Like you can relish in that for a quick second, but then you got to go ahead and just think about the next hole. And he's like, just keep going. And he's like, at the end of the day, the pleasure, the experience you get from making that putt isn't a big deal. And he's like, lower the stress. And so I think a lot of the times contentment in that sense can imply a lot of pressure. And I think if that pressure starts to consume you a little bit is where it gets a little bit dangerous. So I guess all I'm saying with this, and the reason I agree with it but also disagree with the quote at the same time, is because, like you said, there is a fine line between loving either side. I don't think you should love either side, but I also think you should take parts of each side. You should be a little bit okay with your success, and like you should relish that a little bit. You should be present in it. You should live in it. But you should also still have your eyes forward, right? Your eyes should never be looking at your feet when you're on the bridge across the chasm. They should be looking at Jesus on the other side. So you're always facing forward. And I guess that's where I think we're agreeing on the same thing, of course. But I think I just have a different interpretation of the word contentment, which is okay. But yeah.
You have anything, Evan?
I have no final thoughts.
Really?
Well,
No.
then I will close it out. And so to come to a mutual agreement here and be, the bigger man. I'm just kidding. But I am going to create, a common ground here, and that we are going to stick with complacency and stagnation as our negative words, okay? And we are going to say we're going to take out contentment out of the vocabulary, and we're going to say temporary satisfaction as our positive word. How does that sound?
I like that. I like that better.
So in our lives, whether you are pursuing, whether you've reached the goal, or anywhere in between, our point that we're trying to make here today is that you always have room to grow. There's always more to strive for and pursue. But within that, there are points where you need to sit down and rest and be okay with doing that in the moment. Complacency, stagnation is a place of stagnation. It is, right? Like it's a negative slope. It's a downward slope. But like there is a place to be in a state of temporary satisfaction and rest. So that was a lot to say, I guess a little. But we're trying to build a common ground here from our lengthy conversation and help you to realize that Cole and I and Evan are agreeing here in a way. We just need to clarify the words that we use, which is, probably should be taken out to a lot of different debates in different places.
So strange,
But
because I feel like our definitions and our like clarifying of the words is always like the easiest clear-cut part. But I think it kind of goes back to like what you're saying about like the personality part of this, and like I think your interpretation is a lot of like I like your whole. What's your mindset that you love? What's the thing called?
mindfulness.
Mindfulness. It's Nazari's mindfulness mindset to like, sit down and, be. And it's funny because you see both of our personalities in this conversation, because mine is like go, 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 go. And Nazaria can definitely attest to that. And so I guess that's why my brain probably leads more towards like the looking forward type thing. And yours is kind of like, oh, it's also like good to like, you could still look forward, but it's also good to like, like give yourself a break.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think there's a lot of different life experiences that have shaped us to be that way. I
For
know
sure.
I think of plenty of the reason of why I'm not like that, because I used to be more of that way, and now I've come to the place that I'm at now. Cole may come to that place. He may go. Who knows? And I may go the other way. And Evan, who knows? It's all good to find out.
Yeah.
But this has been an hour and 2 minutes to say
Holy
a lot
cow.
of words. We hope you gained something from this episode. And if you're going to take anything away, if you're going to take one thing away from today, is that heaven, being with our Lord, is the ultimate satisfaction that we are striving for, and is the only place that we will ever be able to truly rest forever. And so we hope that you will join us along the journey towards pursuing eternal life, and the eternal life that can only be found in Jesus Christ our Lord. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Lost Sheep Podcast. We'll be back next week. Until then, God bless.